As the second best-selling model in the portfolio, the Lexus NX has a pretty important mission with attracting younger buyers into the Lexus brand. Now, for the first generation model, it came out back in 2015, and it was a decent luxury crossover, but it also had a lot of flaws that kept me from giving my full recommendation compared to its other competitors. Now, for 2022, Lexus is hoping to change all of that with the completely redesigned 2022 NX. Not only is it built off of an entirely new chassis, but it's also introducing 4 all-new powertrains to this model, including the first ever plug-in hybrid electric version of this car, which is Lexus's first ever plug-in. And in addition to new styling, we also have a completely redesigned interior with the first ever Lexus interface, which is a 14-inch touchscreen replacing the old mouse pad system. So Lexus is claiming this is the most comprehensive redesign in their 32-year history. And today I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're gonna find out if that's truly the case. Hey guys, I want to interrupt this review to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Harry's. No, not your neighbor Harry that you probably know, but I'm talking about Harry's, which is a company that was created in order to help men of all different types find high quality razors at a fair price. So I know, we've been stuck in quarantine for the past year and a half or so, and for those of you who have simply stopped shaving because there was no need and now you have to get back to the office, Harry's is here to help because this company will essentially give you high quality razors and an incredible deal. And the best thing about it, it is all delivered right to your doorstep. In fact, if you guys haven't even heard of them, the company makes it easy. You can go to their website and order this starter kit. This is the same kit that they sent over to my house. And when you open up the box, you're gonna get several of their signature products, either shaving cream or a shaving gel. This is the shaving cream that I got. It smells really good. It also leaves my skin really, really soft. And then of course you've got their signature razor. Now this razor includes their signature 5-blade system, which is very durable. It's designed to not get dull, and it just feels really good. It makes it easy, it makes it simple, and I can't tell you how many times there have been razors that I've tried that just don't work very well. They feel a little bit clumsy when you're using it. Now the cool thing about this kit, it comes with a travel case. So for somebody like me that travels all the time, it's really nice to keep the blade protected when I have it stored in my suitcase. So what are you waiting for, guys? If you're looking to tame that unruly facial hair that you've been dealing with for the past year, be sure to go to www.harrys.com/redline reviews, where you can get this exact starter kit here for just $3. $3 for this whole kit, and replacement razor blades cost as little as $2. So don't wait any longer, guys. Be sure to go to www.harrys.com/redline reviews, where you can take advantage of this special offer. And now let's get back to the video. So there's no denying that Lexus is definitely playing catch up in the tech and electrification arena. I mean, the company itself admits that they need to introduce new products, and that is coming. They're claiming that about 20 new products are coming within the next 4 years, and the NX is going to be the start of all of that. So there's a lot of big changes coming for Lexus. Now, speaking of changes, let's talk about the design changes that Lexus has made this year, because when you first look at the new NX, it doesn't look all that different from the previous generation, although Lexus claims it is. I mean, the grille, we've seen the spindle grille before. This one here has the F-Sport package. It's painted in ultrasonic blue Mica 2.0, which is my favorite, with the black grille, the intricate L's that kind of form this mesh finish. You can see there's a camera there under the Lexus emblem that also houses the radar sensor for the Lexus Safety System 3.0, so it's now in its 3rd generation. You see the headlights are also redesigned. These very much remind me of the new IS. It has the LED daytime running light, which has been moved to the upper portion of the headlight. The previous generation was on the lower portion. And all NX models will come with bi-LED headlights as standard. This one here has the optional triple beam premium LED headlights, which definitely give it a much more aggressive and premium look. There's also still fog lights. If you look underneath here in the lower fascia, the LED fog lights are included on most of the upper trims, especially the F-Sport. And some of the grille openings you see here are functional. Some of them are also not functional. I do like this silver front lip here that's part of the F-Sport package. It's a really aggressive look, so let me know in the comment section below. Obviously, the F-Sport model is going to be the one that appeals to more enthusiasts because it has more of the sport-oriented theme, but Lexus will also offer like a luxury package with a slightly different finish to the grille. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this vehicle is based off of an entirely new platform. It actually shares a platform with the current generation RAV4, which is their TNGA architecture. Lexus calls it GAK platform, I believe. And you can see when it comes to the overall silhouette, silhouette, it doesn't look that much different from the old NX, but this vehicle is slightly longer. So now we have a wheelbase that's 105.9 inches long. That's the same as the current generation RAV4. Its overall length is 183.5 inches long. That's about 0.8 inches longer, and it's around 3 inches longer than the RAV4. So again, this is a compact SUV. It competes with cars like the Acura RDX, the Infiniti QX50, the Audi Q5, etc. This particular one here with the F-Sport package includes these really, really attractive wheels. These are a 20-inch black finished wheel. It kind of has a multi-spoke design to it. They're wrapped in 235 with tires. All NX models will come with 18-inch wheels. You can upgrade to a 19 and of course the 20 on these on this F-Sport model. I do kind of wish that Lexus offered like upgraded brakes with painted calipers. That would definitely make this look a little bit more performance oriented. I also am surprised that they're using 235 width tires. That's the same size width tire that you'll find on a Toyota RAV4 Prime, which remember this car is also built off of a RAV4 Prime in terms of its powertrain. You can see there's a nice F-Sport badge here to let people know that this is the F-Sport. You have a black painted mirror, and then the panoramic sunroof is available, but this one here as just a standard sunroof. I don't believe you can pair the plug-in hybrid with the F-Sport package and get the pano roof. I'll have to double check that with Lexus, but I believe that wasn't part of the deal. You can see the door handles look pretty conventional, but you'll also notice that this has the company's new digital latch system. So if you want to come open the door, there's actually no handle, or at least the door doesn't open. Instead, there's a button here that you push, and that opens the door for you. In case the power is out, you can also pull on this right here. When the power is out, that'll open the door manually. Lexus has the same solution on the inside. The digital latch system is a first for Lexus, so that's something that they introduced as part of a new safety feature, which I'll talk about later on in the interior. Now, to plug the vehicle in, the charge port is over on this side, which is the same place as the RAV4. And this one here being the plug-in hybrid, you can see it just comes with the J1772 plug. There's no fast charge option, and it comes standard with the 3.3 kilowatt hour charger, which takes around 4.5 hours. For an option, you can also upgrade to the 6.6, which will cut that time into around 2.5 hours. That's still an extra. I was surprised that Lexus is still charging extra for the fast charger. I was hoping they wouldn't, but remember, this is only applying to the plug-in hybrid version. Now, at the rear, you can see you have this new full-length, full LED taillight, which also has LED turn signals, LED reverse lights. You can see this is also the first Lexus that spells out Lexus on the rear tailgate. They took away the Lexus badge. They're saying that every model forthcoming is going to have this new logo, which let me know what you think of that design change. I think it looks good. It's definitely a little bit more modern, although I think if the Lexus logo was here, it also would look good. You can see there's an NX450H Plus badge to let people know this is the special plug-in hybrid version. I'll show you guys the regular gas version later on. And then with the F-Sport model, you also get more silver accents here. No visible exhaust tips, which is interesting because the RAV4 Prime has dual exhaust tips with chrome outlets. So kind of surprised that Lexus didn't go with that here, but maybe they're just trying to go with more of that electrified theme. Now let's look at the cargo area. Now you can get a foot-activated tailgate here, a hands-free system if you guys choose the right option package. But as you can see here, this one here has more cargo space. Lexus is claiming that you get around 14% more cargo space. So with the second row seats up, they're saying you'll get around 22.5 cubic feet of space. That compares well to the 17 that you had in the previous generation. Now, there is new underfloor storage here. It's a little bit larger, although this one here being the plug-in hybrid does have the rear battery back here, which I don't believe the other models will have that. But you can see here, pretty generous amount of storage space underneath here. And you can see Lexus includes this nice finishing here for the cargo area. But the one thing that surprises me, however, is when you fold down the rear seats. Now, the plug-in hybrid model, just like the RAV4 Prime, doesn't eat into the space back here. When you fold down the second row seats, Lexus says you get around 47 cubic feet of space. 47 cubic feet is actually less than the previous generation. That's if you fold down the seats. I'm not entirely sure why Lexus didn't have an answer for me when I asked that question. But just looking at it at a glance, with the second row seats up, you do get more space back here, which was a problem for the previous generation. So now that we've talked about the exterior changes for the NX, let's talk about the interior, because this is an area that Lexus spent a lot of extra time on. You can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. It's the same Lexus key fob with their intelligent access system. I'm surprised they didn't redesign the key. You can also use your phone as a key feature, and you can use the Lexus Connected Services app to basically remote park this vehicle as well. And as you can see, the door handles, like I mentioned earlier, these are the digital latch door handles. So you just push the back the inside of the door handle, there's a little pad that opens up the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of this particular one here, this is the nori green exterior with the full leather interior. So this has the upgraded leather as opposed to the new Lux that you get in the F Sport model. I really love this two-tone combination with the red stitching. the black inserts, the white on the exterior. The steering wheel also has this really nice orange stitching, and you can see the door panel here has the same two-tone look with the orange stitching, and you have some nice dark gray finish matte wood. My Tester also has the 17-speaker Mark Levinson sound system, which is about 3 speakers more than the previous generation. Now, getting inside, you do have a nice easy step-in height with this vehicle. Lexus didn't disclose the ground clearance information, but just getting in, it's really easy to get in and out of. As I shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, which again gives you an impression of quality. Now, to start the vehicle up, Lexus puts the button right here at the upper portion of the center console. You can hear there's also a new chime when the vehicle starts up, and the Lexus interface comes to life. That screen is massive. This is the upgraded screen. Remember, a standard screen is 9.8 inches. Lexus didn't have that screen for us to try, but basically you'll just cut out the side real estate that you get with this larger screen. You also have an all-digital display here in the instrument panel. Although this looks kind of small, you can see the outer portions of the instrument panel are just an analog style gauge. I kind of wish Lexus did a full digital look. I like the new steering wheel as well. The steering wheel looks good, feels good in your hands, has high quality leather. The steering wheel itself is also power, tilt, and telescoping, and you have lots of touch sensitive buttons. These buttons here on the side are actually customizable. You can change them out to be audio information or your driver assistance stuff. That is interchangeable through the Lexus Inform system. Now the seats, they offer 3-person memory. They also adjust in like 10 different ways. These seats are pretty comfortable and supportive. They're heated and cooled. Lexus does offer heated seats in the back, but not cooled seats. The digital latch system, as you can see, to get in this vehicle or to get out of the car once you're in, usually Lexus has a door handle here. Instead, now you just push this button here that opens the door for you. The reason why it's digital is because Lexus has a new feature called Safe Exit Assist. So it uses the blind spot sensor in the Lexus Safety System 3.0, and it will check for any kind of bicycles or cars coming in. And if it senses that, it'll give you a warning in the instrument panel and will not allow the door to open. So that's a great safety feature that'll prevent your car door from getting slammed into an accident or getting ripped off for people that are not paying attention. If the power fails, you can pull the door handle this way 2 times and that will manually open up the doors. So great safety feature. That is also on the rear doors as well. So that's something, again, that Lexus really wanted to pay attention to the details there. Now let's talk about the interior materials before we go into the infotainment system, because for a luxury oriented model that, you know, has a $50,000 plus price tag probably, I am a little disappointed that they did not stitch the dash here with leather or offer any kind of stitching or anything. You can see this area here is a soft touch injection molded plastic. It feels nice in a Toyota. I wanted this to also be stitched in leather. You have a lot of piano black plastic. The door panels also have the same soft touch material with some real stitching down here with the orange. This looks nice here. It's hard touch plastic down here. The window controls, you can see, typical Lexus high quality. They feel really good. I also like the controls, the way they look, and you can see there's power folding mirrors on this car, which is again a really nice touch. But in terms of the dashboard, I wanted it to be a little bit more luxurious feeling. Now you do get some stitching down here on the center console with that nice white color with the two-tone, more piano black plastic, which again is going to kind of show scratches and whatnot. But this area here reminds me more of a Toyota with all the piano black plastic. I think the design could have been a little bit more luxurious feeling. The Acura RDX, the main competitor, I think the interior in the Acura looks better, but I do think the Lexus has done a better job with the infotainment system. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty with this all-new Lexus interface. Now, first of all, it does include over-the-air updates. It was developed by or in-house by the Toyota Connected Services, which is a new company set up in Plano, Texas. They have spent years developing the system because Toyota and Lexus heard all the criticisms about how crappy their old remote touchpad interface was. Now, as you can see here, there is no dedicated home screen in this vehicle. Instead, you kind of get in, you have all your different widgets here on the side. You can see my phone is already hooked up. There's the wireless CarPlay. It looks fantastic. It's snappy, it's responsive, the graphics are good. This is all within easy reach as well, so it's easy to manipulate the screen, and it's just really, really well laid out, and I love the way this looks. I also noticed that Lexus keeps the bottom portion of the screen the climate function. So you can see your heated and cool seat controls over there, your heated steering wheel controls are over there, and you have actual dials here for the dual zone climate control, which is standard. You have a physical volume knob. So this layout is nice, and the screen also looks good, although I wish that Lexus had gotten rid of the extra black plastic here. I mean, it wouldn't look great if it came out to here because it's not a perfect rectangle, but this kind of looks cheap how they didn't include all of the screen to go out to the corners. I wanted them to push it out into the corners a little bit more. Now, going back to the Lexus interface here, you can see the map display. The map display is all new this year, and you can manipulate it pretty well. It's very much like a tablet. This can take over-the-air updates, and this is a very early rendition. So you saw there the map was a little slow to populate, but the graphics finally look good. It's not as good as like Audi's Google Earth, for example, but at least it looks a lot better versus the old system. And you're going to start seeing this, of course, in other Toyota and Lexus products. The new Tundra, which I'll be driving next month, also has that. Your phone information, of course, is right here. There's a vehicle settings where you can tap that. You can adjust all your different seat controls, all-wheel drive monitor, trip information, driver assist. This right here is the settings button, and this is where you can go to customize a lot of features. This car has their Lexus personal assistant, and it has these drive modes where you can set up your own drive modes or drive profiles where you can have yours. You can also set it up for your spouse, your mother-in-law, whoever you let drive your car, and it'll memorize those settings based on your key fob that you bring in. You can also go to things like vehicle customize here, where you can change the interior lighting. Go to illumination. You can see there are 14 different themes for interior illumination. That's something that Lexus has been criticized in the past, and now I'm looking forward to testing this vehicle out at night and seeing what the interior lighting looks like. You can even go to a customized setting. You can change it to however you'd like. You can also change the brightness. So this is stuff that the Germans have been doing for years, so it's nice to see Lexus has finally caught up to that. The heads-up display, you can see my tester has the 10-inch head-up display. As soon as I start touching this touch-sensitive button here, you can see something pops up in the head-up display where can I adjust the following distance, or I can change what kind of adaptive cruise control, whether I want adaptive or just regular cruise control. That looks really good, although I've seen some larger displays in some competitors, but it's nice that the NX now finally has a heads-up display. The previous generation did not have that. The other thing that the previous generation also didn't have was the rearview mirror. It now has that digital rearview mirror, where if you just flip that, you can see this is taken directly from the Toyota RAV4. The quality is also good. You can kind of customize and adjust how it looks. This is great if you have stuff in the back that's blocking your view. So again, lots of great technology features that really bring this car up to the 21st century. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the Lexus personal assistant. So now we have voice commands where you can say, "Hey Lexus,
what can I do for you?
Find me the nearest Starbucks."
The closest Starbucks is Starbucks at 36889 North Tom Darlington Drive. Would you like to go now?
No. So that was pretty impressive, the speed in which that found the nearest Starbucks. It put it right into the GPS, and it just loaded it up very quickly. You can also do things like, "Hey Lexus." Let me get out of that. "Hey Lexus,
what can I do for you?
I'm hot."
Setting the driver's seat temperature to 64.
So you just tell it those kind of commands, and the Lexus personal assistant will help you with adjusting that. It's all really great. The voice commands actually work really well, and I'm just very impressed to see Lexus finally stepping up their game. This is definitely better than what Acura puts in the RDX and what Infinity's doing, and pretty much on par with the Germans, and this is one of the largest screens that you're going to find in the segment. Now, moving away from the infotainment screen, you can see this button here activates your full 360 camera and your intuitive parking assist, which has the parking sensors. You cannot get the remote park feature, the advanced park, on the gas versions. Lexus says it's only available on the hybrids because when you do the remote park feature, it uses the electric motors only to actually move the vehicle forward and back. You can actually control that from your phone. Here's your drive mode selector. You can see there is an Eco, a normal, and a sport. If you drive the plug-in hybrid, there's also a Sport Plus setting, which I'll show you guys that when we drive that vehicle. There's a wireless phone charging pad over here, 2 USB ports. This shifter here is taken out of other Lexus products. You kick it that way to go to reverse. You can see when you go to reverse, it has a really great quality backup camera now, much better versus the previous generation. It has trajectory, it has distance markers, so glad to see Lexus has stepped up their game there. A couple of other buttons here for your downhill assist. It has like an off-road mode, it looks like, electronic parking brake, and there's your hold feature and auto start stop off button. Some more silver painted plastic trim here for the cup holders, which look good. This padded armrest here also is nice and comfortable, and it has a pretty big size storage right there, which is nice. No actual USB ports in there. Lexus instead puts it on the outside. And then over here on the glove compartment, you can see it's a pretty large bin style. It's damped and it's lined with felt. And then my tester here, in addition to the LED lighting, also has the panoramic sunroof, which you could not get before on the previous generation NX. This pano roof also comes with an electronic sunshade, which lets in, or which can block the light. This pano roof is not available, of course, on the plug-in hybrid with the F-Sport package. So overall, the interior definitely has a nice high-tech feel. It just doesn't have the luxury feel that I expected, although the seats are comfortable. I just wanted Lexus to do more in terms of the dash and the design. It's a little too much Toyota as opposed to a Lexus for me. Now getting into the back seat, you guys are probably hoping that Lexus did improve the space back here. Now, getting inside, you can see getting in is really easy, but in terms of the legroom, it actually stays the same as last year's model. You get around 36 inches of legroom, which is not bad. Just know that it's around 1.5 inches less than the RAV4 Prime or the RAV4 because of the shape of this vehicle. You can see the floor isn't completely flat, but it's almost flat. You have two USB-C charging ports here, which is great. You have rear seat air vents, which is nice. You have two map pockets, and the seat backs, they do have a slight recline feature where you can sort of recline this manually. The hybrid model, however, doesn't have the new power recline feature, and I think it's because the battery pack takes up a little bit of space underneath this rear seat here. You do have an armrest that folds down, gives you two cup holders, and overall it's not a bad place to spend time. Still have soft quality or soft touch materials. You can get heated back seats on certain models. However, this model here is a really early pre-production model and it doesn't have the heated rear seats. So before we get underneath the hood, I've switched over to a luxury model, and I just want to show you guys some quick differences. You can see the grille is very different. Instead of the black with the intricate L's, we have this kind of dark graphite finish with a different look to the inner part of the grille. The headlights are still the same triple beam, and then you have still LED fog lights, although again, not quite as aggressive as the F Sport model. I definitely prefer the look of the F Sport. I really also like this nori green pearl color. It's a really nice, beautiful shade of green that kind of looks like seaweed. But let's of course now move on to under the hood, because Lexus is offering this car with 4 different powertrains. As you can see, the hood has struts, which is not something you get on the Toyota version of this car. And this is the powertrain that Lexus expects most people to buy. This is an all-new engine for 2022. It's a new 2.4 liter direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. So it's a bigger engine versus last year's 2 liter. And the numbers are pretty good. 275 horsepower, which is about 40 more than the previous generation, and about 317 pound-feet of torque. That's a significant bump over the old 2 liter engine, and all goes out through an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. All-wheel drive is going to be standard if you guys go for the turbocharged engine. The base 2.5 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder is either available in front or all-wheel drive. Lexus also has 2 different hybrids available, which we'll show you guys the hybrid in just a moment. This particular powertrain is rated to get 22 in the city, 29 on the highway. Premium, of course, is required with this engine. And like I said earlier, with all-wheel drive, this car should sprint to 60 in around 6.8 seconds is what Lexus claims. And they didn't mention the towing capacity for this engine or this combination yet. I imagine they'll have that number at a later date. And the new NX is actually lighter this year. Lexus says they've reduced the weight by about 170 pounds versus the previous generation. The hybrid's about 200 pounds lighter than the old one as well. As this one sits though, it still weighs in at just over 4,000 pounds. So it's a pretty heavy car. Now, Lexus expects the gas turbo engine to account for about 40% of sales. However, if you guys want the ultimate NX, this is the one you're going to want to choose, because the NX 450H Plus, even though the 450 name implies that it's like a 4.5 liter displacement, it's not. This is the same powertrain that we get out of the Toyota RAV4 Prime. And let's be honest here, I own this vehicle currently, and it's a wonderful powertrain. It's in super high demand. Toyota can't even build enough of them. So what we have here is the same 2.5 liter dynamic force, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that's paired up with 3 electric motors. There's 2 at the front, and then there's a separate electric motor that powers the back axle. The gas engine on its own makes around 181 horsepower. The electric motor makes around 179. Combine that up, it's never a straight conversion or a straight addition. You get around 302 horsepower. Lexus does not quote the torque figure of this powertrain, but you should assume it's a lot because it's an electric powertrain. You have an 18.1 kilowatt hour battery pack, which means this car does qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit. It's the same lithium-ion battery pack that's in the RAV4 Prime. And Lexus didn't disclose what the actual gas-only fuel economy was as of this filming. I believe it's around 36 miles to the gallon. The regular hybrid gets 39, so this should be a little bit less, but they did say you get around 36 to 37 miles of pure electric-only driving. That is about 5 miles less than what you get from the RAV4 Prime, and you can akin that, of course, to the fact that this vehicle weighs a little bit more. It's slightly heavier, about 200 pounds heavier than the RAV4 Prime. In terms of the transmission, it's an eCVT. All the hybrids come with that. It does come standard, of course, with their all-wheel drive, which has that electric rear axle, so it's not a mechanical linkage between the engine and the rear axle, between the front axles. And in terms of towing capacity, Lexus didn't have those numbers for me as of this filming. The RAV4 Prime does around 3,000 pounds, I believe. So this should be around the same, but we'll have to find out when Lexus has that number ready. Performance is pretty good, 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. This is about a half a second quicker than the gas turbo. Curb weight, this car weighs in at around 4,475 pounds. So it's about 500 pounds heavier versus the gas turbo model. So with 4 different powertrains to choose from, it's going to be a lot of choices at the Lexus dealership. However, Lexus didn't even have the base engine for us to drive, which I'm kind of glad they didn't. I've sampled that engine in a Camry, a RAV4. They work in a Camry and a RAV4, but not necessarily in a Lexus. So now we're in the 350, which is the 2.4 liter turbo. This is the new engine for this vehicle. Lexus expects 40% of buyers to choose the 2.4 liter turbo engine. And with 275 horsepower, it's about 40 more horsepower than the previous 2-liter engine. So it's a nice bump in power, and we have 317 pound-feet of torque. We have an 8-speed torque converter automatic, which I believe is the same transmission Lexus uses in some other products. But just initially, the car has a nice feel to it. Lexus developed their own Lexus driving signature for this new generation NX, and apparently all the upcoming Lexus models will feature this kind of unification of the driving feel. And my impressions are good. The car feels solid. This one does not, I don't believe this has the adaptive dampers because we're missing the F-Sport package. But the wheels on this one, this is the more luxury-oriented trim. It definitely drives nice. The leather feels good on the seats, on the steering wheel. And the visibility is also good. This car has the Lexus Safety System 3.0, which is basically an updated version of 2.5 that has more steering corrections available. It has the ability to hit the brakes for you if you're like falling asleep behind the wheel. And then putting my foot down here, as expected, the engine doesn't really make much noise. It's actually kind of a dull sound. It's really refined though. It's smooth. But I'll have to try it from a stop. It does feel like it has good passing power. I mean, 317 pound-feet of torque is a lot, especially for the segment. This engine will probably compare very favorably to the base 2-liter turbos that you find in all of the German competitors. Lexus claims you'll get to 60 in 6.6 seconds, and fuel economy of this one is around 22-29 mpg, so not bad. Be sure to feed a premium if you guys do own this vehicle. But let's mess around here with the paddles, since I can't seem to start it from a stop here. They do an okay job. I mean, this is an 8-speed torque converter automatic. I actually, you know, driving it, just accelerating and testing the passing power, I'm a little underwhelmed by the sound for sure. But that's not the point of this vehicle. You're not going to be driving this car, doing drag races in it. It's probably going to feel sufficiently powerful for most people. But let's go ahead and just try it from a stop here. I'm going to put it into Sport. There's no Sport Plus setting on this model here. We'll turn off the start stop and just floor it. Yeah, 6.6 seconds is what Lexus says. It feels a lot slower than that.
It felt like it was limiting the torque.
Yeah, I'm going to try brake torquing it and trying to turn off the stability control, because it didn't feel very powerful. I was actually kind of disappointed with the way it feels. The engine is smooth, the transmission is smooth shifting, but I expected more. I mean, this is a 2.4 turbo. Like, why isn't it faster? I'm a little surprised as to why it's not faster. All right, so I turned off the traction control here. I just want to try brake torquing it. Turn off the auto start stop too. Yeah, I mean, I don't have my 0 to 60 timing equipment with me, but this feels like a mid 7-second range. I mean, the old NX Turbo was sluggish for the segment at like around 7.3 seconds. With the extra power, I was expecting this to have more. So we'll jump into the plug-in hybrid later. We'll try that out. I'm expecting to like the plug-in hybrid because I love it in my RAV4 Prime. But I have to admit, until I get this back home to test, I'm a little disappointed by the power of this. It almost feels like, where's the turbo? It almost feels like a naturally aspirated engine. They've tuned it to feel kind of like a naturally aspirated engine. I mean, you'd see there's a turbo boost gauge here and you can see it's working, but I expected it to have more power.
How much boost is that?
I'm not entirely sure what the boost is. Lexus didn't mention the numbers of the boost, but
it feels like it pulls harder in third gear than it does in first or second.
Yeah, it could also be the tuning of the 8-speed auto. This is a torque converter auto. They've probably tuned it for fuel economy or something. But we'll have to retest the fuel economy, do a 0 to 60 test when we have this car for a little more time. but let's just say that I'm a little bit shocked. I expected a little bit more. I feel a little underwhelmed in the acceleration, but if I stop focusing on the acceleration, it is a nice driving vehicle still. Visibility is good, the seats are comfortable. It's quiet in here also. It definitely feels quieter than the RAV4 for sure. And again, I keep comparing it to a RAV4 because I'm reminded that this car is sharing a platform with the RAV4, although the interior is just leaps and bounds ahead. The new tech in this car is impressive for sure. But yeah, I would definitely most likely skip the base 250 version because that's going to feel really gutless. Lexus says 8.6 seconds for that car to 60. But this turbo is smooth and refined, and it should be plenty for most people. But if you're thinking it's kind of like enthusiastic to drive, you might want to wait for the plug-in hybrid model. So the gas engine should account for more of the sales mix. However, the plug-in hybrid version is probably going to be in really high demand, just like it is for the RAV4 Prime. I can't stress this enough. I own the RAV4 Prime. It's a wonderful daily driver, and the one thing I'm really aching to know is, does this car feel like it's worth the extra money? Because remember, this car is about 15 grand more than a RAV4 Prime. That's a pretty significant amount of money, and we have the exact same powertrain. So I have it in sport mode here. The car unfortunately does not have a full charge. I was hoping that Lexus would charge it, but so it's going to be only in hybrid mode because it doesn't have the battery that has any energy in it. But put your foot down here, you can feel it's pretty quick. There's a lot of torque down low, which is the whole purpose of going with the plug-in hybrid model. It feels like it can accelerate really well. I'm actually really liking the way this accelerates, although the gas engine is still really noisy. The whole point of being able to drive the Prime or the plug-in hybrid version is just being able to enjoy it in electric only mode. But as you can see, just like the RAV4 Prime, you still have the tendency for the front wheels to kind of skid because the back axle is only powered by electric motors. So it still does not provide enough power to give you that sure-footed grip of all-wheel drive without the tires spinning, but it's still obviously all-wheel drive. Most people aren't going to drive it the way I'm driving it. I have the car in its Sport Plus setting right now, which kind of gives you this track-style tachometer, which is interesting to see in an SUV like this. Although Lexus did claim Lexus driving signature is their new, I guess, motto mojo when they're developing all their new vehicles, because now they have one engineer that's handling all the driving dynamics of their entire vehicle portfolio. That's going to be the case with all their new products. And in terms of sportiness, I mean, this is a very short drive. I only literally have this car for less than an hour because there's other journalists that want to drive it. The steering in this vehicle feels pretty comparable to the Toyota version of this car. It is relatively quick. It doesn't really provide much feedback. The suspension, this has the adaptive variable suspension, so it does have a slightly different feel. The ride quality, you definitely notice, is still smooth, at least on these roads, but I imagine it should be smoother than the RAV4 Prime because of the adaptive dampers that you cannot get on the Toyota. Visibility is also good. The Lexus Safety System 3.0 is standard across the board, and it adds a couple of new evasive steering assist. It adds new auto braking in case the driver's fallen asleep and is not paying attention. It'll shut the car off completely. Now, when the battery is discharged like this, you can still coast this vehicle along in electric only mode, but as soon as you give it a little more throttle, the gas engine turns on. But the beauty about it is because you still get 302 horsepower combined, even though the battery is discharged, you still have plenty of power. So Lexus claims 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. I'll have to test that number, although I got 5.7 in my Prime. This car does weigh about 200 pounds more. Does it feel heavier? I'm not entirely sure. I have the car in normal mode right now, and you definitely notice the steering isn't quite as responsive. It's a little bit lighter. The seats do hug you a little bit better in this model, so I do like that. But really, I don't love driving it in hybrid mode all the time because the engine is so noisy, although the responsiveness of the CVT and everything working together is incredibly smooth. So Lexus and Toyota, of course, have that right, but the beauty about this car is driving it in pure EV mode, and I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test where I can fully charge it, and we can do an updated driving scene with the plug-in hybrid model. But still, if you guys are looking for the plug-in hybrid Toyota RAV4 Prime, and you want something a little bit nicer, this is basically going to deliver that, but remember, it is significantly more expensive. So when Lexus first introduced the all-new NX, they claimed that this is the most bold changes they've ever made to a vehicle in their 32-year history. And after spending the day driving the turbocharged NX and the two electrified versions, the plug-in hybrid in particular, I can pretty much say that this car isn't necessarily the most bold change Lexus that I've ever driven in the last 32 years. What it does feel like, however, is a really nice redesign of the NX. Remember, this is a car that Lexus consistently sells over 60,000 units every year. This is their second best-selling model. And between the two models that I drove in the video, the turbo engine and the plug-in hybrid, the turbo engine, this one here, was my surprise disappointment. I actually expected a little bit more from this engine. It's a nice powertrain and smoothness and refinement, but it doesn't really have the performance that I wanted out of a turbocharged engine, especially one that has over 317 pound-feet of torque. That's a big number. The plug-in hybrid, on the other hand, is really, really enticing. Just like the RAV4 Prime, on which the powertrain is based upon, you have the option to go up to 37 miles of range on battery electric only. I can tell you from experience that that's probably a slightly better number in the real world. And the performance with the 3 electric motors, the 302 horsepower, that model felt significantly faster than this version. And in terms of the handling, the new NX handles and rides just fine. I especially like the adaptive dampers that you get on the F-Sport model. The look is also okay. I prefer the F-Sport model. This one here, the green, is nice, but it just has a more subdued look over the F-Sport. That's going to come down to your personal preference. Now, if you guys are looking to purchase the new NX, what's it going to cost? Well, Lexus says that they will be starting production sometime in November, with the units starting to reach dealer lots by about December. And the car starts only $500 more than the previous generation. At a base price of $37,900, this is only $500 more versus the old version. That's just actually not a big change considering what Lexus gives you here with the tech. The all-wheel drive on the base 250 is about $1,500 more. If you guys want the turbo engine, it's about $2,000 more versus the base 250 with all-wheel drive. So not a big change to spend $41,500 for this model to start. If you guys also want the regular NX 350 hybrid, which is basically the RAV4 hybrid's powertrain, that's going to start at around 41 grand, so it's actually $500 less than this one. That also comes standard with all-wheel drive. And the plug-in hybrid model, the blue one that I tested earlier, that one starts at $55,500. That's before, of course, the $7,500 federal tax credit. The hybrid model is expensive. It's around 18 grand more expensive than a RAV4 Prime. And keep in mind, I don't have final specs yet on terms of pricing for these versions that I've been driving with all of the options they have. I'd probably say this one here, with the options that it has with the luxury package, the extra for the color, the Mark Levinson sound system, probably is around mid $50,000. The plug-in hybrid, don't be surprised to see a sticker price of around 60-ish or 60+ thousand for those with all of the options, especially the one that I was showing you. Now, with all that said, how does the NX compare to its competitors? Well, it is well priced compared to German rivals, a lot less expensive, but compared to the Acura RDX, this turbo model here leaves a little bit something to be desired if you guys are looking for the sportiest driving dynamics, although this car does have a much better interior with better infotainment, not necessarily better luxury, at least for me. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2022 Lexus NX 350 and the plug-in hybrid. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.